You might be asking yourself, is there no way to get what we paid for? And who will take responsibility? Let me tell you about myself. I graduated from UCLA in 2013 with my degree in chemistry. Since then, I've accumulated years of experience with hands-on lab work, from working with live viruses in a biosafety level 3 containment area under sterile conditions, to FDA-regulated pharmaceutical testing upheld by the strict standards of the United States Pharmacopoeia, the USP, and the National Formulary, otherwise known as the NF. I currently work at an NSF-compliant supplement manufacturing facility, overseeing things such as FDA audits, making sure that our operating procedures and proper documentation is in place. I apply the knowledge that I've gained on my career path in chemistry towards making Leviathan Nutrition an unstoppable force in the world of supplements. Now, let's get back to the problem at hand. So the thing that we see in common with all manufacturers of dietary supplements in the United States is that they are all governed by the same rules and regulations set by the FDA. These rules and regulations are all found in the following. This is 21 CFR Part 111, which is otherwise known as CGMP for dietary supplements, or Current Good Manufacturing Practices for Dietary Supplements. Now, these rules and regulations deal with things from manufacturing, packaging, holding, and labeling for dietary supplements, and everything in between. So a lot of these rules and regulations are very strict and set in stone, while others are a little bit more open to interpretation and will largely depend on the manufacturer and how the manufacturer chooses to abide by those rules. As long as it is documented, it is seen by the FDA as being valid. These regulations set by the FDA, known as 21 CFR Part 111, encompasses every dietary supplement manufacturer in the United States. They all have to abide by the same rules. Now, this applies to all supplement manufacturers, and it deals also with things like supplier qualification, where the supplement manufacturer are getting their raw materials from, which in most cases is usually from China, which is a highly unregulated place when it comes to the manufacture of things like pharmaceuticals and dietary supplements. So how do we enforce high quality standards on ingredients that come from China? Well, the FDA states that there is a system in place, but that system is largely open to interpretation. So the FDA states that before you use any component from a supplier, you can either rely on a certificate of analysis, otherwise known as a COA or C of A, or conduct your own tests to make sure the material is of high purity and quality. Now, before you are able to rely on a certificate of analysis from this supplier, you have to go through qualification of this supplier, which means that you take their certificate of analysis and you then conduct your own testing on the product to ensure that the certificate of analysis provided by them and the results that you achieve are both the same. Their certificate of analysis must also state what tests were used, what specifications are acceptable for that test, and the results that they achieved from that test, so you can then compare the results that you did from your own testing to make sure that things are lining up. Now, this is all appropriate, and the manufacturer must show documentation as to how they qualified this supplier. And the FDA goes on to clarify that you must periodically reconfirm the quality of these suppliers' certificates of analysis. Now, this is where the problem lies. By stating periodically, this gives most of the responsibility up to the manufacturer as to when they choose they want to retest raw ingredients for purity and potency. So for most manufacturers, they're basically going to have this open to interpretation as the bare minimum. They want to spend as little money as possible on testing raw ingredients because that's money that they don't see as income. That's money that they have to spend, that's time they have to spend on things other than producing and sending it off and getting paid for their product that they're producing. So this is where the issue lies. The issue lies in the interpretation of this periodically confirming supplier certificates of analysis. Now, by this bare minimum statement, manufacturers can choose to reconfirm supplier certificates of analysis as little as once every year or once every 2 years. So basically, between those years, you can rely on a certificate of analysis from a supplier, which may not even be accurate because that certificate of analysis is coming from a highly unregulated place such as China, where they are not using USP regulations, they are not using FDA regulations to verify that their product is being tested in a certain and systematic way. They can be getting away with forging things like forging results in order to make the potency of a certain product pass. Now, this is a major concern in the world of dietary supplements, and it's something that we as consumers should be afraid of, and we as company owners should be even more scared of. Now, with these ambiguous regulations behind one of the most crucial results when it comes to product potency, how can we ensure that we're getting what we pay for?